Good evening and welcome to the June 1st meeting of the Southwick Tolland Granville Regional School Committee meeting. If you'd like to make a public comment this evening, there'll be two opportunities where we'll read public comment. Please send an email to the superintendent at stgrsd.org email. Please make sure you have your name and address in the context of the email. Okay. So tonight we were originally going to do election of committee officers. That is being postponed as Tolland has not held their election yet. Later this evening, we will discuss as a committee if we're going to reschedule our second committee meeting. In your packets, you should have a secretary's report dated May 17th, 2021. I will entertain a motion to accept those meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Do you have any questions, comments, or changes they would like made to the May 17th meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Just let me know whether you approve them with a yes, don't approve them with a no, or you're abstaining. All right, Pam is up first. Pam?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Rob?
Abstain.
And Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 6-0-1. All right. Warrants have been emailed to your school accounts. I believe there's 3 warrant articles to be reviewed and signed. And Rob, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our business administrator officer, Mr. Presnell. But otherwise, please sign those and return them via email to Amy. All right, correspondence, John?
I have a letter that I regret that I have to read this, but it says, Dear Superintendent Jennifer Willard and Chairman Houle, I'm writing this letter to inform you of my resignation from my position on the STGRSD School Committee, with my last meeting being on June 15th. As you may already know, I will be moving out of the district, but my kids will continue to go to Southwick as their dad still holds a residence here in Southwick. I regret any inconvenience that my resignation may cause to the school committee. I will be available to assist during the time I have left with any open items and policy subcommittee. I have greatly enjoyed the cooperative experience of serving on the school committee during my terms and am thankful for your help and kindness along the way. I am honored to have worked in the capacity of improving the school and its functions for our children, and I'm grateful for your understanding. Kindest regards, Maria Seddon, School Committee Member, Southwick.
Just when we thought we got you back, Maria.
Thank you.
As excited as I personally am for you, Maria, I'm very sad to see you leave.
Thanks, Jen. That means a lot to me. I really, it was really hard to write that letter, but at the same token, it was a happy chapter in my life. So my kids will always, will graduate from Southwick, all 3 of them. Eventually, I still have 4 more years with Lauren. So I'm here if you guys ever need anything. So always at your service.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, moving on to our first public comment. Amy, if you would be so kind to check the account.
There are no emails in the account.
Okay, moving on to the student advisory report.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'm going to be talking about senior week. I talked about it last week a little bit, but I'm going to go over the agenda again, just in case anybody wants to go to any of the events, like the parade. So Friday, June 4th is senior checkout at the bus loop from 8 to 10 a.m. The senior parade will be on the same day at 4, and the bus loop that the route that they're going on is on the school website. Monday, June 7th is the senior class trip, and they're going to have a picnic at Wally Park. June 9th is the awards ceremony, and it's going to be under the tents at the SRS field at 5:30. The graduation rehearsal is Thursday, June 10th at 10 a.m. in the SRS parking lot. Prom is also on Thursday, June 10th, and it'll be at Roma's from 6 to 9 p.m. Saturday, June 12th is the day scheduled for graduation. Friday, the day before, is the rain day. Graduation on June 12th will take place under the tents at the SRS fields at 10 a.m. Each student is allowed 6 guests for the ceremony. So if you can, go look at the bus loop, and you can always wait outside and cheer on the seniors as they take their final drive. So for the rest of tonight's report, I just had one other thing. Last Thursday, May 27th, Student Council had a Hat Day fundraiser with all of the proceeds going to the GI Go Fund. This nonprofit organization helps support veterans after service, and in total, we raised $382. That concludes tonight's Student Advisory Report. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to educational presentations. Up first is Principal Sasso for Woodland School handbook changes.
Good evening, and no, I don't want that promotion, thank you. So tonight I wanted to encapsulate more of the bigger changes to the handbook versus going through page by page. Obviously, each year we update the school year noted, the page numbers, school committee members, and our district calendar. So all of those are in place in the changes. The biggest changes that were made actually have resulted from our year experience with COVID and the safety and health measures we've put in place. And for that, we will continue with our drop-off and dismissal practices that we have been doing instead of going back to using the rec center parking lot and having families and children walk down the sidewalk to and from school. So we will continue with our drop-off with their morning time staying the same, 8:45 to 9. We will do our pickup time, though, starting at our typical dismissal time at 3:20. So 3:20 to 3:30, we will have our parent pickup for dismissal. And we'll continue using the silent dismissal program because that's worked out really well, and getting kids notified to meet us in the lobby to line them up to bring them out for the waiting cars. Another piece that was updated was involving the school lunch program. Now that next year we will have a universal free school meals for the year. So we updated that in the handbook. And the other big thing was really the changing of the layout of the policies and adding any updates, policies that had been updated that the handbook did not have updated. And I think we might have been missing one that the other schools had, so that was added in there as well. And besides, the other thing with the policies is that they are now ordered by file number versus how they had been alphabetically, so that this is more in line with the handbooks at the other two schools. So those were the big things that I needed to report about the handbook changes. I don't know if you have any questions.
Any questions from the committee on the handbook changes?
Principal Sasso, I do have one quick question for you. In the updated policy that you're changing for when the children are being picked up, you reference that the parents need to have a mask if they get out of their car. Is that something that needs to stay in there with the new update from the state?
Probably not when I wrote this, and honestly, nobody's really wearing the masks right now, and they're not really getting out of their car. We might have a couple parents or adults that get maybe the younger preschoolers out of the car. I think right now they have been wearing their mask, but no, I could take that out as well.
That's a good catch. Any other committee questions? All right, we thank you, Principal Sasso.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to Powder Mill, Principal Fahey Carrier.
Evening. So all of the changes for our handbook this year have to do with kind of housekeeping, name changes, get calendars, and correcting page numbers and policies. We don't have any direct changes to the handbook. Do you have any questions?
Did you want to update the school meal policy like they did at Woodland? Because the one that you sent out still had all the old language, and it is going to be free for the middle school and the regional school this year as well, right?
Yes, correct. It will be free. I hadn't changed it the first time around, and I probably should have spoken to Kim to hear that she was going to be changing hers. This year it stayed the same, so I was going to leave it because we know that the free program won't last forever, and so we'll just be changing it back. So I hadn't changed it, but I could certainly bring it to you with those changes if you prefer.
The only other thing I noticed is that Ryan's information was not included in the school committee information at the front of the handbook.
Oh, thank you. I apologize for not catching that.
Erin, did you have any changes to pickup drop-off procedure for this year, the way that Woodland did, or are you status quo for that?
We did have changes that were COVID related, and I have yet to meet with my faculty to decide if we're going to continue with the new way of doing it. So I did want to hold off on making the change to the handbook until I knew for sure. We plan on doing that at our June faculty meeting. So if we make a change after that, it will be reflected in the next handbook.
Any other committee questions? All right, moving on to the regional school handbook changes with Mr. Principal Trammell.
Good evening. Thank you. Like Principal Sasso and Principal Carrier, the changes to the SRS handbook are somewhat logistical and page numbers, updated committee members, updated school calendar, and the policy changes that the committee has worked on throughout the year. And hearing the other two schools about their lunch program for next year, that's something that I will need to go back and look at tomorrow to see if we have made that change, and if not, get on the same page as Principal Sasso and Carrier, so we're consistent throughout the district.
And Joe, am I correct that you had put together like a completely separate COVID-related handbook, so that none of the changes that you made this year are applicable to the traditional handbook?
That's correct.
Any other committee questions for Principal Trammell? Okay, moving on to the regional school graduation update from Mr. Trammell.
So we are excited about graduation, which will be June 12th, Saturday, 10 o'clock out on the field again. Similar to last year, we were able to, as much as it was difficult to plan for last year's graduation, we did learn a lot and are able to duplicate most of that going into this year. So we have secured 4 tents that will be on school grounds from Wednesday afternoon through Saturday's graduation ceremony. We'll be able to use those for our award ceremony on Wednesday evening as well. With the changes from the governor and from Desi over the last couple of weeks in regards to graduation, Mr. Quinn, the band and chorus director, is working on logistics for having the band and chorus live at graduation. The mask, the spacing, the coverings for the horn instruments, and where the students are going to perform. But we are excited, the students are excited that we will have a band and chorus at graduation. Diplomas have been signed, the jackets for the diplomas have been delivered. All the plaques for the awards have been delivered as well. Mr. Wykander has been fantastic in getting the stage, the chairs, generators, the electrical equipment all set and ready to go for next week. As Annette stated earlier, we are going to give students 6 tickets that they are going to pick up on Friday if all their materials and dues have been turned in. Friday during senior sign outs, students will get their caps and gowns and 6 tickets. Those 6 tickets are for family members to be seated in the tents. Other family members in public are welcome to come, but they will need to sit outside the tents, and seating will not be provided for them. How we will need to seat the families is in groups of 6. So 6 seats will be together, and then 3 feet will separate each family throughout the 4 tents. This year, Superintendent Willard will be able to hand the students a diploma. We will probably still stay away from shaking hands, but she will at least be able to hand the students their diploma as they come across stage. But everything else, as far as logistics, we are ready to go and hoping for a cooperative weather week. And we have an exciting week for the students. They've waited all year to be together, and we're thrilled that we can provide them some opportunities for some great memories to end their senior year.
Mr. Trammell?
Yes.
This is Ted. I'll be coming to the graduation.
I'll have a sign for you front row.
Thank you.
Any questions about graduation? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Principal Trammell.
Thank you.
Moving on to policies. Tonight we have our second reading of policy IMG, which is animals in schools. Anybody have any questions or changes they would like to make to this policy? Okay, hearing none, we'll have one more reading at our next meeting, and we'll vote on it at our next meeting. All right, moving on to action items.
Move to approve the agreement between the Southwick Talon Granville Regional School Committee and Joseph P. Trammell, Southwick Regional School Principal, for the period July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2024, recommended.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on this contract? All right, we will do a roll call vote to approve this contract, starting with Pam,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 7-0-0.
Move to approve the agreement between the Southwick Talon Granville Regional School Committee and Aaron Fahey Carrier, Powder Mill School Principal, for the period of July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2024, recommended.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on this contract? All right, hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. Pam,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 7-0-0.
Move to approve the agreement between the Southwick Talon Granville Regional School Committee and Momo Kamara, Commuter Network Technician, for the period July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2024, recommended.
So moved.
second,
Okay, for what we discussed earlier, I'll entertain a motion to table this contract to be voted on at a later date.
Second.
I need somebody to move the motion.
So moved.
second,
Sorry.
So procedurally, we're just moving this to vote at a later date.
Move to approve the agreement between the.
Oh, we got to vote.
Oh, sorry.
Pam. Pam,
All right. Yes. I can't, didn't hear you.
Ted,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 7-0-0.
Move to approve the agreement between the Southwick Talon Granville Regional School Committee and Jared Maple, Computer Network Technician, for the period July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
second,
All right, again, I'm looking for a motion to table this contract to be voted on at a later date.
So moved.
second,
All right, Pam,
Yes.
Ted,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 7-0-0.
Move to approve the agreement between the Southwick Talon Granville Regional School Committee and David Sanchagrin, Athletic Director, for the period July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, recommended.
So moved.
second,
Any questions on this contract? Okay, we will do a roll call vote. Pam,
Yes.
Ted,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 7-0-0.
Move to approve the following wage increases for the following non-contract employees for the fiscal year 2021. MECO Coordinator Charlene Diaz, 2.75%. Speech and Language Pathology Assistant Melanie Canary, 1%. Speech and Language Pathology Assistant Christy Turcott, 2.75%. Treasurer Paul Pettit, 3%, recommended.
So moved.
second,
All right, any questions on these increased for non-contract employees? Okay, hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. Start with Pam,
Yes.
Ted,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 7-0-0.
Move to approve the following wage increases for the following non-contract employees for fiscal year 2022. MECO Coordinator Charlene Diaz, 3%. Speech and Language Pathology Assistant Melanie Canary, 1%. Speech and Language Pathology Assistant Christy Turcott, 3%. Treasurer Paul Pettit, 3%, recommended.
So moved.
second,
Questions on these wage increases for these non-contract employees? Okay, hearing none. Pam,
Yes.
Ted,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 7-0-0.
A move to accept the memorandum of agreement between the Southwick Talon Granville Regional School District and the Southwick Tallinn Granville Regional Education Association Incorporated, the agreement which outlines the terms associated with compensation for teachers to provide classroom coverage for middle school world language for the 2021 school year. Recommended.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any questions on this MOA?
And this is what we discussed at the last meeting, correct?
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Pam,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
and Jeff is a yes. Motion passes 7-0-0. All right, moving on to reports. First, Superintendent Willard.
I have no reports tonight, except I would just like to thank Annette for doing such a great job as our student representative this year. And it was nice to see her and some of our other students at the annual town meeting involved in our local town government. So I just would like to thank her personally for that.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Annette, thank you for spending your Tuesday evenings with us every other Tuesday.
It's been an honor. I'm still a junior this year, so I still got next year with you guys if you want.
Even better, we get to see you face to face.
Perfect.
Okay, moving on to the Director of Finance and Operations, Mr. Presnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No real report this evening. I did want to bring something to the committee's attention. The motocross national event that's typically held either every summer or fall here in Southwick at the American Legion grounds has been scheduled for July 10th based on the lifting of most of the regulations by the Commonwealth. The town is adopting changes to the existing license agreement that allows the American Legion to use portions of town-owned land, some of which is part of the leased land that the school district uses. The agreement is being, I guess, tweaked. They amended to deal with certain aspects, nothing of a material nature to us, but I believe from my conversations with Mr. Steinhardt at the town of Southwick that they will be looking for the school committee to adopt or sign off on the changes to the amended license agreement. I just wanted to make you aware of that. That'll be coming before you soon. We as an administration are also looking at options for making the school district parking lots available for fan parking if necessary. So we're working on that over the next couple of weeks. That's what I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Presnell. All right, moving on to subcommittees and liaisons. First is negotiations. You guys have dates set for any future meetings?
I believe we do. I'm double checking.
Thursday.
The 3rd.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll probably end up texting me like you always do,
Yeah.
and I'll be 5 minutes late because my job has caused me to forget. So
That's all right.
All right, finance subcommittee. We did have a meeting recently.
yeah, was that last week?
Yeah.
Right, we're scheduled for another one on, I believe, a week from today, the 8th. We can talk about whether or not that'll be necessary. I can communicate with you folks via email, see if there's anything pressing.
Steve, I have that canceled in my calendar.
Okay, you
Have
do.
it for the 8th?
Well, I just had it as a standing meeting, but if we've already discussed it, that's fine. We can group together later in the month. So.
All right. Pam, any update on LPBC?
Let's see. Not since our last meeting, no. We have another meeting next week, I believe.
Okay. Board of Governors have not met, so I don't have any update. Policy update. You guys met again?
No, we did not because of the change in the with the board. Chelsea was our other member, so we haven't met again.
Okay. All right, buildings and grounds. I have not had a chance to meet with Steve, along with the director of building and grounds. Steve, maybe we can use that 8 a.m. time slot next Tuesday, or the 9 a.m. from the FinCom. Because I do have that on my calendar.
Okay, leave it there, and I'll reach out to Mr. Wykander, see if he's available.
Perfect.
I imagine he would be.
All right. Any of the other liaisons that would like to report out at this time?
I could just offer from the athletics portion of it that one, I guess we'll have to discuss more as now that this year is kind of closing down, whether we need to keep that position. I think it's probably been a valuable a piece to have, but we can have that broader discussion. And also Rob and I have talked, and he's interested in being that person if we want to continue that. So, and I'm totally okay with that. So that's what I have to offer for that.
Okay. ILT meet earlier today?
Yes, ILT did meet earlier today. I had my own equivalent of that same very meeting in Agawam, so I joined from the car late. So I don't know if there were any other attendees that are better equipped to give a little synopsis.
Okay, I was there for that.
All right, go for it then.
It actually was interesting because they trialed the technology we're going to hopefully use in the fall for our meetings, where there are a group of people at a table and they zoomed together and we could see them. So that was kind of cool. But as far as what we discussed, we were just talking about how we're going to address the learning gaps next year. Just they were talking about this multi-system approach to it. And then also this really cool after-school tutoring program that they're going to start doing. It's actually not even, it's going to be funded by our district. It does include our district teachers, and it's all online. We even got to see I guess someone using it and how the tutors interacted with the student online. That'll be grades 3 through 12. So it was kind of our last meeting and discussing how to bridge our gaps from this crazy year to next year.
I actually have personal experience with that online tutoring program, which is pretty cool. So it really is truly valuable. Students can access it at any point in time, 24/7. I've even had a kid access it like in my presence, where I've said, hey, why don't we try paper.co? I'm not going to tell you the answer. Let's see if this tutor can help you navigate it, just because I wanted to see how it worked. Really, really, really cool. So I applaud the district for looking into that and for adopting that. I hope that it is as meaningful for this district as it has been for Agawam.
They even mentioned that if the kids need like a quiet space to have them stay after school with the help instead of having it accessed at home. But yeah, it is 24/7, which is great. And the only downside we kind of saw was maybe they won't always get the same tutor, but I guess they can rate their tutor that they were with. So hopefully they would get that same person again for a little continuity.
Thank you for the report outs. All right, moving on to our second and final public comment. Amy, if you would be so kind to check the email account.
I've checked the account and there are no emails for public comment.
Okay. All right, moving on to committee discussion. Up first, I got an email request to bring up homeschooling policy IHBG tonight for old business.
That was me that sent that in, Jeff. During the last couple months, I've been approached by a number of people sort of asking about why homeschool kids are not able to participate in extracurricular activities in our school district. And I wasn't completely aware of all the intricate details of that, but over the last couple of weeks, I've done a lot of research, and I had sent in sort of a summary of this that I kind of put together real quick. And pretty much every other district in Western Mass that I could pull policies from allow homeschool children to be able to participate in extracurricular activities, usually with superintendent approval. The only one that was really silent on it was Westfield. I do know that they allow it because I've actually had a friend that homeschools in that area, and their child was able to participate. But Southwick, currently our policy, it specifically excludes that option. And I guess it hasn't been looked at since 2009. I'm just wondering whether the committee would entertain re-looking at that to see if we could maybe come up with some language that would allow it.
We had a discussion, at least since in the couple of years I've been on the board, about this. And I know there were some reasons that I can't remember. So if anybody remembers why we came to the conclusion to not touch this policy, maybe something you don't remember. It may have been a very short discussion, but I do feel like we discussed this not that long ago.
So yeah, I can jump in here because we have discussed it a couple of times since I've been on the board. And I know that there have been a couple of reasons why we have not allowed this. The primary one that comes to my mind is that we hold our students to a certain degree of expectations. In order to be able to participate in sports and extracurricular activities, they need to have a certain GPA. They need to attend school for a certain number, of hours in a day. They can't participate if they don't attend school. So there are a lot of expectations that we hold them to in order to be able to participate. And we can't regulate any of that with regard to homeschool. So our reasoning was an equity issue. Based around that. I believe there were some other issues. I don't know if anyone can jump in on that, but that's what I remember with regard to equity and expectations.
I think that's a good point. I guess the question is, given the information that Rob's sharing, if we do bring it up, it'd be interesting how the other districts are handling something like that, if that was the issue, which it sounds familiar to me.
So I agree, for those districts that do allow it, I would be curious to know how they handle that issue, because in my mind, as an educator, that's kind of a serious one.
I'm assuming this should go through policy first before it comes to us. Is that correct, Jeff?
Correct. So I was going to suggest that after we reorganize, we could have the policy subcommittee take a look at it, get a little bit more information from other districts, possibly survey the school community. I think you would want to have good input on both sides of this. Speaking from some past issues, if you have a homeschool kid come on to, say, the baseball team and take a lead role, or come on to the drama club and take a lead role in the drama club, away from a student that is a member of the district, there might be concerns on both sides. So we have talked about it in the past, and we've usually decided to stick with the same policy. But John, I think you're right. I think it needs to go to the policy sub, and some more homework needs to be done.
And I'm glad you just brought up what you did, because that I recall that now as well, about the, if it pushes someone out who would otherwise is in the district and could make the team or something like that.
And that's something to keep in mind when we're gathering data from other districts, because we don't necessarily want to gather data just from area districts around us, but what we want to look at is comparable size districts, because with a district our small, the size of ours, we just can't offer as many programs. And certainly that's true with regard to the sports teams as well as extracurricular. So I would look at other districts of comparable size too.
All right. So we will move this conversation along to the policy subcommittee. Second issue for this evening is we have training next Tuesday. Amy, what time did we schedule that for? I was drawing a blank.
I have 5:45.
5:45. Okay, so
And
our,
that's in person.
our district lawyer will be providing some training to us. Amy, do you think the regional library is probably the best option?
Yes.
Is it the regional school library or the Powder Mill Library?
The regional school.
Yeah.
We know approximately how long it's going to last.
Just about to ask that.
Hour.
Babysitting purposes, just curious.
Should be an hour.
Okay.
Unless we have lots of questions. And then lastly, under old business, as I mentioned earlier, we need to reschedule our second meeting for June. I wanted to check everybody's availability. So I'm suggesting moving the 15th meeting to Tuesday, the 22nd. Executive at 5:30 and regular meeting at 6. Is everybody okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Amy, I think you also mentioned trying to do that one in person to try out the new technology. I don't know what your thoughts, everybody, are on that.
If possible, I would like to do that.
Take off the training wheels. Here we go.
If the conference room isn't quite big enough, we can do another space at Powder Mill.
You need to figure out if that technology is going to be available for that night, correct? First?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think it's a problem, but I'll find out tomorrow.
Okay. All right, so the bottom line is watch your emails for the June 8th meeting with all the details for that. And then June 22nd, potentially, we will be doing it with the new technology in person. So we'll just watch the invite on that as well. And then I did not have any requests for new business. So at this time, I'll entertain motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote here. Pam?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And Jeff is a yes. Thank you folks for joining this evening.